Welcome new and old friends. I am 242 and today's video is about legal advice. I did forget to mention in my last video, but I finally got a new mic and I hope you guys enjoy the new sound. Now these stories are people wanting help with something happening in their life. I hope you enjoy the 2 posts I found. Now sit back, grab a cup of tea or coffee and listen to these posts. My father died 4 months ago. My sister hid it from my brother and I. We just found out 2 days ago. She had him cremated without our knowledge and tried to cash in the life insurance. What are our options? Pennsylvania. I got a call 2 days ago telling me that my father had died back in March. I had no idea he was dead. I tracked down my sister's number, we haven't talked in 3 years, and confronted her about it. She said she felt no reason to tell me, my brother, or my aunt, my dad's sister. No one in my family knew except her. The only reason we found out is because she texted my aunt asking for my deceased grandmother's social security number so she could cash in the life insurance policy. She also had him cremated without anyone's knowledge and is now trying to claim we owe her $4,000 for the cremation costs. It's to my knowledge that Pennsylvania requires all living children decide on burial action together. I also called the life insurance company as he had no will, and they told me no action could be taken without a death certificate, that she already has, but since none of us had knowledge about the death, we don't have. It seems to me like she's trying to hide the death in order to collect all the life insurance as her own. What is my brother's and I's option? Thanks a bunch. Edit number 1. I have since called the funeral home, and the funeral home director called me back from his personal cell phone, and we talked about it for about an hour. It turns out he did all of this as a favor to my sister because she was friends with his wife. He stated numerous times, "I'm going to be honest here. You could have my butt over this." Then tried to act all buddy-buddy with me. My sister could have easily contacted me as my number has been the same for 10 years, and she has seen my mother numerous times in person since my father died. The funeral home director could have contacted my aunt or just Googled my father's name, and since I'm named after him, I would have popped up. Edit number 2. Hey guys, so my dad did not have a will, and the listed beneficiary to the life insurance was my grandmother, who is also now dead. So my sister was trying to get my grandmother's social security number and death certificate in order to take over the life insurance policy. Also, I can't understand why my father was cremated as he had a funeral plot already bought and paid for next to his parents that we just had to pay to uncover and put him in. My brother and I are also a bit peeved that he was cremated without our knowledge or say so. Do we have any sort of wrongful cremation rights? There is also the issue of my sister claiming we owe her $4,000 for cremation expenses as neither of us approved it. Never heard of it costing that much, and the funeral home still has his ashes at this moment. Now on to the comments down below. Nothing to see. I haven't seen other comments address this, but I think the reason why he was cremated was purely financial as well. You say the funeral home did this as a favor, so she probably barely paid anything for it, and definitely not $4,000. And if you don't use the funeral plot, you can get refunded the cost, or at least a big part of it, which is generally a good chunk of change. So your sister probably just saw that as another opportunity to get some more money. You should contact the cemetery where the plot was reserved and ask about it ASAP. They could be in the process of cutting her a check right now, so you might be able to stop it. Or, if it's too late, you can at least get documentation showing your sister had been paid and add that to your rightful share to the list of what she owes you. JCWA50 says, OP, this is something you need a lawyer for. What your sister did was wrong. That much is stated. And yeah, the person who did the cremation has a point. You and your brother could have his butt and license over this. When a person dies, all surviving members of his immediate family, usually the spouse and children, have to be informed ASAP. there are parts of the law that could have been violated. She also would have been required being there to put a notice in the newspaper, depending on where, it would determine the number that she had to put out. All of his creditors and people who he owes money to have to be informed, along with a death certificate sent out. What you need now is a good probate lawyer, if he didn't have a will. You also need to contact the state and the agency that regulates funeral homes. What this man did was wrong, and who knows if he informed the state, the county, and even followed all the procedures that are required. The lawyer should put a freeze on all insurance policies and other things until both you and your brother are present and can go through everything. This very well may go to court. When my mother passed, I had to handle everything. I contacted a lawyer and got the ball rolling. I did exactly what the lawyer told me to, from contacting my siblings and her remaining brothers. Notices were placed in papers, at least 2 of them, and then I had to take the time to call her banks and get in touch with all who she may have lent money to, and deal with the funeral home. This was done before, during, and after her cremation. Every step was followed and not one was skipped. The magistrate says, "Since your father didn't have a will, he died in estate, and his estate will have to go through probate. You and your siblings are his heirs and will have to agree to assigning an executor who will handle the managing of the estate according to Pennsylvania law. This will take a few years to happen unless you are a lawyer or have done Pennsylvania estate before. You'd be wise to hire an estate lawyer to represent you and your brother, and your sister can get her own lawyer. Pennsylvania interstate estate are huge pains to deal with, so get a lawyer." So it's been 4 months, so they definitely need a lawyer at this point. She was never ever going to tell them that their dad was dead until she probably had all the money put away somewhere or something. I'm not sure. Either way, their sister is a snake and wanted all the money for herself, and you can tell by her actions. I'm really hoping OP finds a really good lawyer to help them with this, and they need to report the funeral home for misconduct at this point, because they definitely broke some laws, and I'm pretty sure they knew it at the time, and now their butts are on the line, and that's their own fault. If there is an update, I will definitely inform you guys, but as it stands right now, we probably won't know anything for quite a while. A mother trying to control her son's alone time. I'm 15. My family is deeply religious. I respect that, but sometimes, I'm 15 and I have to, rub one out. I try not to, but I can't concentrate on anything if I don't. And if I see a pretty girl, it gets worse. It basically feels like sleeping to me. If I don't do it, I can't function. I don't know if I'm normal or not. I'm definitely ashamed of it, but I'm not lying, I promise. My mom doesn't believe me. My dad is also out of the picture, so I can't talk to him and ask him if this is a guy thing. Anyway, my mom has tried a lot of things to get me to stop. She took my door off, for example. She grounded me and stuff. I try to hide it so she gives up, but now she's decided to get some kind of device to put it on me so I can't touch myself. She seems serious, and it wouldn't be out of character for her. She also does other weird things, like Friday we can't eat at all because of Jesus. I try to respect that, but oftentimes I go out on a bike ride and get food somewhere else. I get hungry. What I want to know is, can I refuse to wear her device? I pretty much know I'm about to lose my phone. She'll probably sell it, so I can't get it back. And stuff if I refuse, but personally, I think that going a while without my phone is kind of fine. I want my grades to stay okay so I can get into college and have some control over myself, and I can't do that if I'm constantly hot and bothered by every girl I see, cause, well, So this is kind of embarrassing. I hope I don't need to share my personal information with anyone here. I live in Ohio and I do go to a private school. So I'm not going to read a specific comment due to there being a lot of back and forth conversation here. If you'd like to read this post yourself, the link is in the description and also in the info card. OP basically got the advice of go talk to Child Protective Services, get a hold of a teacher, a police officer, anyone, because OP also can't phone them due to the mom always checking on the cell phone. These are a lot of warning signs for me that they have a very controlling mother, and this is mental and physical abuse. Really, they just want control. And they're getting control by making sure that OP can't, So there is an update, so I will read that next. And I don't want the comments down below to become a political, religious discussion on whether or not you believe masturbation's right or anything. That's not what this is about. This is about legal advice, so please keep that in mind. I told my math teacher about my mother, and she got arrested. I got my 13-year-old brother after school yesterday, and we went to see my math teacher. I didn't tell him all the details, but I did tell him how my mother wanted to put a device on me to keep me from having sex. And my brother and I showed him the healed burn things that you guys suggested. At first, he wanted to call our mother, but that actually made my brother cry in fear, so he didn't, because I told him I'd run away and call the police if he did. He called a bunch of people, and about an hour later, the police and a bunch of other people showed up. Apparently, they had already been suspicious about our neighborhood. They talked to us apart from each other, and I had to tell several people what happened. And there was one lady who I told everything really specific. She was very nice and didn't make me feel ashamed at all. We went back home with them, and I showed the police where my mother kept the drugs that I'm pretty sure are illegal. She wasn't there at all, but my other 6 siblings who were homeschooled were. Then they went down the street where my mom and our preacher were, and I don't know what happened, but they arrested her, and I think it was her drugs and other stuff, and someone else whose house they were at, because they were doing drugs, I think. That's what they usually do. But not the preacher. I think they're going to look into it though. There was a bunch of people and police who talked to all of us more and eventually took us to a place where they said we'd stay for now, like a shelter or something. I should have done this years ago. I feel really bad because I could have helped my siblings and taken better care of them. I really don't know what's happening or going to happen, but the place I'm in now is way cleaner than what we're used to. And we have clothes and stuff and food, and we don't have to watch toddlers anymore. They weren't happy when they figured out stuff like the burns and that my 11 and 10-year-old sisters can't read at all. They also weren't very happy with our house, I could tell. I hope we don't have to go back, and I hope it's okay to post this, even though I don't need advice anymore. Thank you everyone who helped me. So I'm really happy OP got out of that, but I think OP was in a cult without realizing it. There's a few hints hidden in here that kind of give that idea. The extreme control, the preacher, the fact they were into the neighborhood. I think this was a very controlling cult. And I'm very happy OP got out. And I hope OP is okay now. I hope these posts gave you something to think about. 2 stories about terrible family members. Please put a comment down below what you think, and hit that like button and make sure it feels it. And subscribe to hear more from me. If you would like to get early access to my videos and some other bonuses, check out my Patreon. But do come back Sunday for some chilling night stories. I hope you have a good day. Bye!